Welcome to Sober Mentum Today, where we talk about middle-of-the-road drinking and how trying on an alcohol-free lifestyle might just help you show up as a better version of yourself for your life, your loved ones, and everything that matters to you most. I am your host, Morgan Smith. Today's topic is why your attempts to take a break from drinking have failed, the 4 headwinds that are working against you, and how you can overcome each of them. But before we get started, I'd like to offer you a helpful tool. If you're questioning your drinking, which can be a very healthy thing to do, by the way, or wondering whether you should consider cutting back, you can find out exactly where you stand on the alcohol drinker spectrum. Just click on the link in the description box below, and you can download the free info guide. Now, on to today's topic. Okay, and so finally we arrive to the 4th and final of the major obstacles that you're going to encounter in your efforts to take a break from your drinking. And this one is a little different in that the first 3, you are entirely in control of those. Okay, you're in control of reprogramming your conscious mind and reassessing your beliefs. You are in control of maintaining that consistency and removing that from your brain's reward center so that it can recalibrate itself. And you are in charge of reprogramming your subconscious mind by staying the course and repeating these new experiences done sober over and over such that you can completely reprogram these things. But the 4th one, you're not in control of it. And the 4th one is social pressure. When it comes to the element of social pressure on the topic of drinking, I mentioned earlier, we live in a society, or at least many parts of the world, and presumably if your drinking habit has evolved to the point that you're questioning it and trying to intervene, then you also live in a part of the world where alcohol is pretty popular, okay? And so with that said, social pressure is definitely an element here. It's an element that keeps a lot of people from being willing to admit that they got something that they need to do about this, that they have the dreaded problem with alcohol. And some of the ways that social pressure can manifest itself are, for example, you may have a spouse or a partner that you live with who is still an avid drinker, or even if they're not an avid drinker, even if they're just an infrequent drinker, they may not be all that on board with your desire to take a break, and that can maybe create a little bit of pressure on you that they're drinking in front of you and you feel like you can't because you've decided to take this break. So that can pose a little bit of challenge on your resolve to stay on track. You can also have close friends who are avid drinkers, the old drinking buddies. You can have coworkers who are folks that you go out to happy hours with or work dinners on a regular basis. This social pressure can also manifest itself in the form of entertainment media, TV shows, movie depicting people drinking, always in a positive light, almost always. Television commercials, you think of some of the biggest, most expensive television ads ever, like on the Super Bowl here in the U.S., are booze related. So you're going to be encountering that, whether you want to or not. And I mean, unless you pull up stakes and move out to a desert island somewhere, if you have the resources to do that, hey, go for it. But for the rest of us, we're going to be surrounded by the zeitgeist of the day with respect to drinking, and we're just going to have to just learn to deal with it. And one of the things that'll be helpful in that regard is the reprogramming that you're doing, and then the time that goes by when you learn that firsthand, okay, not just some sober coach telling you don't need alcohol to have fun, but you're going to learn on your own that, what, I really don't. I can really have a great time without it. That's going to be a great counter to the social pressure. But one sort of factor that the social pressure will sort of create is the concept of FOMO. You may have heard of this acronym, FOMO, fear of missing out. And I see that as being really sort of the dangerous bullet that can come at you from the social pressure. And that is that you feel like if you see others drinking, or you hear others, you hear your coworkers coming to work on a Monday talking about all the fun they had on the weekend drinking, and Seeing these things, hearing these things, seeing drinking depicted in a positive light on a movie or TV show that you're watching, all of these can just serve as these sort of little bullets coming at you, challenging your resolve to stay the course. And I buckled on many occasions in my early attempts to take breaks from drinking because of that social pressure. And a lot of that had to do with I wasn't doing the work in the beginning. I wasn't doing the work consistently enough to reprogram my conscious mind, and then thereby downstream reprogram my reward center and reprogram my subconscious mind. And so I fell prey to this early on multiple times. This idea that, oh, they get to drink and I don't. And what that sort of boils down to is you still see drinking as a reward. You still see it as a positive thing. And you have not yet fully embraced a comprehensive understanding of all of its downsides, particularly for you. Okay, you don't need to go around preaching to everybody else. In fact, I'd recommend that you don't. You also don't need to tell anybody else that you're doing this. I mean, your spouse, you live with them, they're probably going to observe if they're paying attention that you're taking this break. You can choose to tell them or not. I would say if you think they're going to support you and encourage you and maybe even serve as just a light layer of accountability, although I would not make them your accountability partner. That's not really fair to them. Don't put the sheriff's badge on them to tell you you should or shouldn't drink. But the point is, you can tell as many people as you want to or not tell as many people as you want to. It doesn't really matter. But we as humans, social pressure is it's just a part of how we developed. I mean, we're kind of designed to be members of the tribe and maintain good standing with the tribe in order to survive throughout human history. And so if you do something that sort of deviates from the conventional wisdom of the tribe, then you're kind of making yourself an outcast voluntarily, and it can feel that way sometimes. But just rest assured that, and I've discussed this in some of the other episodes, in reality, darn near close to half of the Earth's population of human beings either doesn't drink at all or drinks so infrequently that it might as well be not at all. I mean, we're talking, I can't remember exactly the stats, less than once a month. I mean, it's just, almost half the world's population essentially drinks very little or doesn't drink. So you're in great company. You don't need to feel like you're some sort of an outcast. Maybe in your immediate family or circle of friends, you'll be a little different. But also take solace in the fact that thankfully we live in a day and age when sort of different ways of doing things is it's just accepted. You got people out there doing a vegan, diet or a keto diet, or people that are doing a gluten-free thing or whatever on some kind of a detox of some sort or the other, training for a marathon or half marathon. Everybody's out there doing their thing. So this can be your thing. To the extent that you feel you need to discuss it with anybody, you don't. But if someone asks you, how come you're not drinking or whatever, you can just tell them, hey, I'm doing a detox. I'm doing a fitness thing, whatever it is. Unless you want to tell them more than that, completely up to you. If they're really a close friend, you might confide with more detail than that. But the point is, when it comes to the social pressure, you just have to make peace with the fact that you can't control it. It's there. It's always going to be there. But to the extent that you cultivate the other three that we talked about earlier that you can control, the power of the social pressure will dwindle. It will dwindle exponentially over time, and you will eventually arrive to a point where you just accept that this is how it is. I'm in a society that drinks, that will celebrate drinking all around me, and that's okay, but I'm just not going to participate. And everybody else around you eventually will get used to the fact that you don't drink anymore and won't even bother to comment on it. And by the way, one of the things you'll discover the longer that you don't drink is that most people don't really care. Most people aren't paying a darn bit of attention to what is or is not in your glass. Most people are just mostly concerned with what's in their own glass, especially if they're big boozers. Well, I hope this information proved helpful for you. Rest assured, if you've tried taking some breaks from drinking and just haven't gotten it to stick yet, You're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. It can be a challenging process, but I hope that being aware of these 4 different obstacles and maybe some ways that you can think about them and approach them a little differently will prove helpful for you in your own efforts. If you're looking for more information, maybe a little more comprehensive, a guide to kind of walk you through this program step by step, check out my website, sobermentum.com. You can learn more about the Sober Vacation Transformation, which is basically a DIY program that will help you through every single step of the way to launch and sustain your own extended break from drinking. So with that said, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, if you're listening on the podcast. And we'll catch you next time on Sobermentum Today.